gentlemen, welcome to Hand Steel Boxing!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Guy McKinnon from Hand Steel Boxing. Here, we're sitting in Florida at the moment for the Tim Tszyu vs. Bakhram Murtazaliev, or something of that nature. We're sitting here today, and this is actually where they did the press conference earlier, so it's going to be a little bit of an interesting episode for you guys today. So today I want to do a bit of a pre-fight analysis on the Tim Tszyu and Murtazaliev fight. First of all, Murtazaliev is 22-0 with 16 knockouts. He's from Russia, Grozny, Russia, I believe, originally. So he has that skill set in the Soviet style. He's now fighting out of Oxnard, California. Now, the guy does have the IBF super welterweight belt, world title, so that's good. He fought for that earlier in the year against a guy called Jack Colkay. Jack is a guy from Berlin, 38 years old at the time. It was vacant. They both fought for it. Now, his opponent is Australia's own Tim Tszyu, who's 24-1, 17 knockouts, fighting out of Sydney, Australia. So let's start talking about these guys' history. So Murtazaliev, he's had relatively less fights against decorated fighters than Tim has. So, for example, well, he's had 22 fights, but those first, 5, you'll take somebody there and you'll take their fighter. Okay, this is a prospect. Let's see what we can do with them. And what they'll do is they'll give them some easy fights. And that could be someone with, say, 10 losses, 5 wins or something like that. Someone with a losing record, just to get them acclimated to the professional ranks, essentially. What happened here is one of their fighters, they literally gave them a fighter that is 2 wins and 48 losses. 2 and 48. And that's ridiculous. You want to give someone they can beat, but this is absolutely another level here. Now, often what you find and what you see is that someone like an Australian fighter, right, would have, for some reason, they have relatively less experience. So when they come to the world rankings or the world fights, and they'll do that one big fight, they'll get, a shot at, they'll often lose because they don't have the experience here. And I find that annoying every time it happens. However, in this spot, and you don't see it often, is that Tim Tszyu actually has more experience than Murtazaliev. Okay? Tim has had guys on his record, like Brian Mendoza, like Tony Harrison, a former world champion. And domestically speaking, he's had some serious, contenders. He's gone through almost all the best fighters that Australia has at, welterweight, super welterweight. I'm talking Steve Spark, Dennis Hogan, Jeff Horn. That Jeff Horn fight was a handing over the torch fight. Wade Ryan, and Wade Ryan doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He's quite a tough fighter. He's quite a relentless fighter. Now, Tim's only loss is against Fundora. Now, Fundora is actually a particularly funny fight in the sense that he did lose and he did have a cut on the forehead, which was an accident, happened. And in my opinion, I feel like he would have taken out Fundora in the first, within 12 rounds. Okay, but obviously it never happened that way. Medically speaking, that the fatigue that would have come from that, losing so much blood from your forehead, from a cut like that, and it's a very vascular area, and I do come from a medical background, so seeing that actually would have, caused a lot of damage and a lot of blood loss and a lot of energy loss with that, essentially. So that was his only loss. On top of that, it was coming on 2 weeks' notice. Now, historically speaking, I feel like people that take fights on 2 weeks' notice, unless their opponent is like a bum, like someone that's terrible, I feel like it's always asking for trouble. And it's always an issue that happens from that. What happens is that they come in and you haven't quite trained for this person, they've got a slightly different style, and they cause upsets. And historically speaking, you see it all the time. Tim Tszyu in this spot, he took someone on that's Anthony Joshua tall in the super welterweight division. And when I say Anthony Joshua tall, he's 6'8", and take on a challenge like that is insane. Now, Murtazaliev, he actually is a bit taller than Tim Tszyu. He's about 6'1" or something like that. So in this spot, I don't think height's going to be an issue for Tszyu. Now, keys to victory. So I feel like they have shades of each other. They both come from that base, and that base is that Soviet style, I feel like. Now, Bakhram Murtazaliev, he's coming from his keys to victory, I think. He has to use that superior height and reach. He has to keep Tim at bay. Okay, he does have some well-timed counters. And when I say that, I mean don't fight off the back foot, but he needs to keep him at bay. All right, and don't let Tim close in the distance there and make it fighting on the inside. I feel like if he gets some shots off and those counters off with the straight right hand and the left hook, which he put down Jack Colquet with, he can make him a bit gun shy. And I probably want to test that cut relatively early because he got that bad cut on the forehead from Fundora. Now, it's been quite a few months since then, but I would probably want to test that if I was Bakhram in this fight. Now, Tim Tszyu, on the other hand, I feel like his keys to victory use some smart pressure. He must make Bakhram fire off those shots and use his superior countering ability to cause that damage. Now, I feel like combinations here and changing of the levels, you know, from the head to the body, and those arching shots, those arcing shots over the top of the guard here, I feel like it's going to expose the defensive flaws in Bakhram Murtazaliev. I feel like that's going to be some keys to victory that we want to see here. Like I said, I see shades of Tim Tszyu and Murtazaliev. I feel like some of their styles are relatively similar. However, I feel like Murtazaliev is a B-grade Tim Tszyu. I feel as though that Tim Tszyu throws way more dynamic punches and he has more shots and shot selections here. Better shots, should I say, better shot selection. And he's got better punches. And when I say that, Murtazaliev has left hook, straight right hand, but Tim Tszyu, I feel like he can really hurt you with body shots. He can hurt you with an uppercut. Okay, he's got those punches to cause more drama, and he's a more dynamic puncher as well, fighting from better angles and different angles, and also using the footwork left and right on that. Now, one thing which I have seen is Tim Tszyu's defensive improvements as well. As opposed to Murtazaliev with his last fight with Jack Colquet, I feel like he was getting hit quite a bit with those looping shots. Okay, he's defensively speaking that I don't think is good as Tim Tszyu, and he may get exposed by combination punching. Tim Tszyu's defense has improved over the last, say, let's call it 5 fights. You can actually see it actively, all right? So that may be a differentiating factor here that we're looking at. All in all, if someone had a gun to my head, what I'd say is that Tim Tszyu will probably get the stoppage here on the fight within the distance. All right, a lot of people are saying rounds 6 to 8. I'm going to say rounds 8 to 9. Okay, I think Murtazaliev will stay in there for quite a bit, but Tim Tszyu's going to overwhelm him eventually. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll catch you next time on And Still Boxing.
Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, please subscribe to the channel for future content.